Senior Fellow Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis joining us right now. Colonel, thank you very much for taking the time. We haven't had an atmospheric test of this sort since October 1980 on the part of the Chinese. I guess the big worry, sir, you know better than I, is that it can cause a great deal of electronics disruption. It could affect the electronics in planes flying in the vicinity. They could literally drop out of the sky. So they have to be telegraphed somewhat. They have to know that this is about to happen. Do you think the North Koreans would give advance warning that it is?
I would guess that they might, just because they want to avoid any unnecessary problems. But I think that they're much more concerned with the political fallout that this is hopefully going to have, because I believe that what you're seeing here is that President Trump wanting to be strong and all that, but I think he might have pushed Kim Jong Un too far. And I think that Kim Jong Un is going to launch, or at least he has a chance to launch, a missile with a nuclear warhead with the purpose of demonstrating I have the capability, and if you attack me, then I can create mass casualties out of proportion with what you're going to do, to try to keep us from doing that. That's what I think happened.
That's interesting, Colonel, because another thing, he's doing this, that is Kim Jong Un. He's doing this hours after China said it is cracking down, too. It is going to forbid any financial institutions in China from doing business in North Korea. At least that's their stated goal. We got to verify that, I understand. But if that isn't the clearest indication that Un is now challenging the Chinese as well as us, that can be scary in and of itself, right? I mean, that he is now just on his own, going rogue worldwide. What do you make of it?
Well, I think what we have to bear in mind that part of the very founding of the North Korean country is the idea of juche, which they call the self-reliance. So built into their DNA, they want to be self-reliant. So they have been doing that for literally decades. And I think that their mentality is that we can survive alone. Even without China, we'll go anything we can do as long as we can defend ourselves against the United States. I think that's what they're deciding.
You know, Colonel, it's just a gut read. I know it's a crazy question, but you endure many from me. I wonder, do the North Koreans have a death wish? In other words, Kim Jong Un, more to the point, he must know that the more this escalates and the more he tempts fate, even accidental fate, the more he's a sure goner and his country is a sure goner.
No, I think it's actually the exact opposite. I think he desperately wants to live, and that's why he is accelerating his nuclear weapons and missile program, to demonstrate that he has the ability to strike back in a powerful way should we invade. And I think that...
So he doesn't see it the other way around, just to be clear, that one wrong move could, precipitate an action on our part or the Western world's part. He still sees this as an initiative that would be started by someone else.
But because he is absolutely terrified of what happened to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. In 2003, we made a deal to get rid of his nuclear weapons program, which he did, and then he was promptly killed once he didn't have it. And that motivates him like I don't think.
So these weapons are his bargaining chip, right?
Absolutely, and that's another reason why that our pressure, what it's intended to accomplish, I think it has absolutely no chance to accomplish it, which is to get him to agree to go non-nuclear, because he sees that if he gives them up, then he becomes vulnerable. And I think that under no circumstances will he give them up unless he has some kind of assurance that his security will be maintained.
The only other option in the immediate term would be a freeze. Now, we did not agree to that when it was first raised, I think, by the Russians 6 weeks ago, Colonel. In that we didn't want to freeze our military exercises, I believe, with the South Koreans at the time. So assuming that's still the case, we're not inclined to do that. Where's this going?
Well, I fear that we're moving towards escalation to where any kind of miscalculation could turn into an armed conflict, which must be avoided at all costs. Now, I think what we ought to do, which has a chance of succeeding, is establish links of communication, just like we did with the Russians during the Cold War and with the Chinese, to prevent miscalculation, so that we're at least communicating with each other about what we're intending. But we need to also communicate deterrence, that if you launch any of these weapons against the United States or our allies, you can count on a devastating response. But if you don't, then we're not going to attack you. What we don't want to do is push him into a corner where he feels like his only recourse is to use his weapons.
But he's already in that corner, right?
Not yet, he's not, okay. But these things are certainly pushing him in that direction. So far, he still has the ability to not use them.
All right, Colonel, thank you very much. Very good having you, sir.
Thank you.